Well, we live in this pretty interesting world where we get scoops from people that are, well, unreliable, and often they seem so opportunistic it's a little bit irritating. Now, Black Bolt himself, Anson Mount, has responded to one of these posts, slapped it down in a brutal way, and I think it gives us a peek into what's going to be going on down the road. Has the time of the scooper ended? Let's talk about it. Now, before we do that, though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently so you are in the know. Well, as many of you know, we kind of live in a world right now where news is coming at us from multiple directions, and many of it from rather unreliable sources. Now, in the world of scoopers, there are a plethora of people that are out there saying things that, well, either aren't true, aren't verifiable, or potentially really upsetting to a studio. And I'm having to wonder if we're reaching the end of that era. Now, recently we found out that Marvel has started to sick their lawyers on can we get some toast. And we mentioned then this might be a peek in what's going to happen down the road, and a recent response from Anson Mount to a post about Secret Wars that seems to confirm this new approach to dealing with scoopers. Now, as many of you know, he made his MCU return in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we got to see the 838 version decked out in a full comic-accurate costume. Now, the character wasn't on screen very long before Wanda Maximoff dealt with him, but fans have been talking about whether he could return or the rest of the Inhumans. Now, if you remember correctly, the Inhumans really weren't on Kevin Feige's radar. Former Marvel Entertainment chairperson Isaac Perlmutter tried to force Feige into making it into a movie, and when he didn't want to do it, it ended up on Marvel Television, and quite honestly was an absolute flop. But the characters are very loved inside the Marvel Universe, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them return. Now, if you follow social media and many of these scoopers, you're probably pretty familiar with what people call engagement farming accounts. Many of these so-called scooper accounts that don't have any sources are rarely right, mostly like a broken clock, and all of these posts are basically to garner attention and maybe a couple of dollars off of Twitter. And yesterday, Anson Mount absolutely slammed one. Now, the post came from Marvel Updates, and in their post they said that the Inhumans would be returning in Secret Wars. And then Anson Mount responded and absolutely crushed it. He said, "This is so interesting. Please tell us more about this contract I apparently signed in my sleep. I'm so curious to hear all the juicy details from a feed that is clearly not a click farm." Now, first and foremost, if you follow this account, you know they post anything and everything, and quite honestly, many of these posts from all these types of accounts are probably based on SEO information and the best way to get clicks from fans without an absolute ounce of truth. This is that transparency aspect we try to bring you on this channel, and honestly, most of these accounts provide none. Now, Mount's response is interesting because to me, it signals another cultural shift on the production side of the house. I really believe many of these studios are absolutely done with things being leaked and ruined for fans, whether they are true or not. Like I said, Marvel has started to sick lawyers on people, and I think this is just the beginning, and you're going to start to see a lot of social media pushback from stars of projects coming down on accounts that are trying to ruin it for everybody else. Ryan Reynolds basically did this during the Deadpool and Wolverine production, and it got a pretty positive response from many people. And this begs the question if we are nearing the end of the era of the scooper, where fans, and more interestingly, the production companies with a lot of lawyers, start turning on these particular accounts and either trying to shop them via shame or lawsuits. Now, whether the Inhumans return, well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. They are some of Marvel's classic characters. With the Fantastic Four right around the corner, I do think there's a distinct possibility they could be back. As for this particular account and some of the other scoopers, this is why we always like to say if it's not from Kevin Feige or Marvel Studios, it's not official, but we also need a new category of accounts that are simply making stuff up, a click farm as Anson said, and do our best not to support, condone, or really contribute anything to what they're doing. I'm really curious on what you guys think about all this and would love to hear some comments from you down below.